I'm Dr. Patricia Daza, and I'm Director of Psychology and Psychology Training here at the Menninger Clinic. I think, to put it simply, change is hard, and there's a lot of factors that come into play whether somebody's successful with a change attempt. And the reality is, how we break it down hopefully will increase the probability of success and having the outcome that we want. I think I've stopped setting the resolutions. As we talked about, some of these changes can feel very overwhelming. But what I've done, and really try to focus more on, is intentions of what is it that is important in my life for the new year, and how do I break that down to a place that might be more reasonable for me to accomplish. And I think that's more apt to bring us the outcome that we want. One of the things that I think is helpful is to actually think of intentions. It says that these things are still important to us, but they're not necessarily the pressure of a goal. And so how we break it down can make it easy for us to accomplish. And when I think about that, I don't think of what will this look like December 2026, but what might it look like January 31st? What might it look like January 7th? And really try to tackle it and break down those goals to something that just feels much more manageable. I think to be realistic and sustainable really means very different things for different people. So every person is different, and there are a lot of factors that go into play with that. So what are your support networks in order to make these change goals? And importantly too, and realistically, what are some barriers that get in the way? Because I think if we don't name the barriers, they're going to increase the likelihood that we're not going to meet the goals that we want, the intentions that we've set. So it's important to recognize what are the things that I'm bringing that is going to help me with this goal, and what are the things that might impede us reaching those goals. And it's important because if we recognize the barriers, then we can more appropriately meet those challenges and where those struggles might be. Self-compassion is critical, because what we know is some level of behavior change. When we think about guilt, people sometimes confuse guilt and shame. Guilt can actually be healthy in small doses because it can actually lead to behavior change. Shame really gets at the core of who we are, like, I'm not doing it because I'm a failure, I'm never going to be able to make this right. And the more compassion we have with ourselves is going to be critical to reaching these goals. One term we talk a lot about here at Menninger is mentalizing. And essentially that means being curious about your thoughts and feelings and that of others. And if I'm struggling with something, I want to be curious about, why is this happening? Why is it really hard for me to reach these intentions or reach these goals? And having some compassion allows us to kind of keep that pace going forward versus feeling so much shame that it paralyzes us. So I think that distinction is quite important. It's important to break down our goals because, again, a large goal, a large intention can feel unmanageable. And so if we break it down to something that feels more manageable, we're more likely to have probability of success. And that can mean different things for different people. But I think if we're realistic with ourselves, then we're more likely to have an opportunity to be successful. I really think it's such an important goal to set mental health as a priority. And one of the things that I often tell people when they're setting goals is, what is your why? When things get very, very difficult and we're feeling like we're struggling, it's important to emphasize, again, what are my values? Why am I working so hard at this? So that's important to keep central to what we're thinking about. Every person is different. And what are your goals? If you're somebody who's a busy bee, who doesn't say no to things, who's going, a mental health goal might be, what are some ways to kind of slow down, have time for reflection, have time in what we call solitude versus isolation. Or you might be somebody who's feeling very isolated, maybe even depressed. What are some ways for me to think of mental health goals to actually have connection, and what does that look like? And as we mentioned earlier, breaking down those goals may not be, I'm going to go to a large party of people and have to interact. That might feel overwhelming. But it might be going to a dog park, being around people, being around dogs, being around others, that really fosters that sense of connection and may not feel so overwhelming. So really knowing what are your goals and what are you trying to accomplish are central. I think the main thing that I think about is, again, what is your why? Why am I doing this? Am I doing this for myself, or am I doing this for other people? And how do I keep that focus in terms of my behavior change? And also, the piece of this that I often talk about in treatment and with change is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We have to really basically realize that there are going to be steps back. We all have our struggles. Life happens, chaos gets in the way sometimes. But ideally, that even in those step backs, and we're getting feedback about that, that the path is still forward. And everybody's path is different, and change does take time. And having that self compassion, as we talked about, will help us keep that steady path going forward.